So those are the critical headlines coming out of the proposals which have been tabled by the Finance Minister today. The Finance Minister's speech was immediately followed by a speech by the Prime Minister himself. And the Prime Minister was at great pains to point out that in this budget there was something specific for different sections of the society. There was something for the urban poor, there is something for the farmers, there's something for the startup sector as well. So various proposals which have been made by the Finance Minister. Over the next 2 hours we'll be running you through all the critical highlights of what really Budget 2017 has ended up achieving. Thankfully, there is a big CNN News18 impact as well. Finance Minister has decided to pay heed to our AXA tax wish list. He's announced there will be no cash deals of more than 3 lakh rupees. Good news on the tax front as well, with the Finance Minister scrapping tax on income up to 3 lakh rupees. Tax rates for income up to 5 lakh rupees has been halved now from 10 to 5%. There's been a massive crackdown on political parties as well. Anonymous funding to political parties from one source has been brought down from 20,000 rupees to 2,000 rupees. The budget also proposes electoral bonds for political parties.
Madam Speaker, our government was elected. I therefore propose to reduce the existing rate of taxation for individual assessees between the income 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs to 5% instead of the present rate of 10%. In order not to have any duplication of benefit, the existing benefit of rebate available to the same group of beneficiaries being reduced to 2,500, available only if to the assessees with income up to 3.5 lakhs. The combined effect of both these measures will mean that there would be a zero tax liability for a person getting income up to 3 lakh rupees and a tax liability of only 2,500 for people with an income of 3 to 3.5 lakhs. The special investigative team set up by the government for black money has suggested that no transaction above rupees 3 lakhs should be permitted in cash. The government has decided to accept this suggestion.
Okay, so those were the critical statements which were made by the Finance Minister. Many of those statements are already been now objected very, very vehemently. Many of us would say perhaps predictably by the opposition. What we're going to do now over the next 2 hours is going to bring you up to date, face to face with top cabinet ministers, with top opposition leaders and bunch of opinion makers whose opinion really matters. Here with us in our studio, Shankar Iyer, one of country's most renowned economists, author, Swapan Das Gupta, resident commentator, Rajya Sabha MP of the Bharatiya Janata Party.
No, I'm not.
You're not. Rajya Sabha MP nominated by the President, Swapan Das Gupta likes to believe, but still we'll say he's a resident commentator.
Either you're economical with the truth,
yes,
or you just say what it is.
Okay, so you are nominated. Okay, so let's settle it that. Nominated. And also joining me live from Mumbai, Madhuchanda Dey, head of moneycontrol.com. In just a few moments from now, also hope to be joined by senior Congress leaders and cabinet ministers. Let me just get the first question to you, Madhuchanda ji. Let me just get you to answer. I've been seeing a lot of traffic coming on moneycontrol.com and a lot of people saying that this tax structures which have been reconfigured today, does it really bring any kind of relief? Does it really bring any kind of relief to the middle classes?
Well, the tax structure has been tweaked. First of all, we need to understand that it has not been tweaked across the board. It has been tweaked only in the income tax bracket of 2.5 lakh to 5 lakh. And that's a great move according to us because as Finance Minister was explaining in his budget speech, out of the total 3.7 crore assessees, about 1.9 crore falls into the bracket. So if you want to do a smart tax adjustment without really compromising on your revenue too much, that was the right bracket to address. So to that extent, it was a great move. Secondly, the reduction of 5% and along with that, the section 87A was tweaked. The rebate which was 5,000 rupees stands reduced to about 2,500 rupees, and our calculation suggests that for someone earning about a 5 lakh kind of a salary, there will be some kind of a relief of 7,500 rupees per annum. While this doesn't sound great, but for someone in that income bracket, it definitely will help boost consumption at the margin. So to that extent, we really cannot say that this was a non-starter. This definitely will have some impact, but may not be as huge an impact as we saw last year with seventh pay commission or the OROP kind of.
I think the way to look at this, Madhuchandraji, is that since this budget was coming literally on the eve of assembly elections in 5 states, there was this expectation that perhaps the government will do exactly what previous governments have done, which is to go the populist way and convert this into some kind of a dream budget, particularly for those states which were going to polls. That tendency has been capped. Shobhan, would that be a right way? That tendency which existed, the criticism which existed against the government, many thought that this budget should not be presented so close to assembly elections. Has it gone the populist way?
Well, it depends on what you call populist. I certainly call it a popular budget, insofar as that it's benefited every section. Where if you think about it in terms of whether you give a series of freebies and confer a new set of entitlements, this doesn't do that. But then that's not the style of this government. So I think you've got to realize within the terms of in terms of the ideological matrix of this government, what they've done. And I think they've kept to the fiscal deficit. They've in fact now brought the figure to a very, very encouraging level. And overall, I think what we are really going to see, I think the most important point is that they are banking considerably on widening the tax net.
The tax net.
And the benefits of that, in time, will flow to the taxpayers. The larger the number of taxpayers, the more the individual taxpayer benefits. And at present, I think what is more significant is that by and large, as far as most of the people are concerned, I think there has been a reversal of the tendency to raise taxes. In fact, most of them have had benefits.
How?
And both in corporates as well as individuals.
Let me just
the corporates, if you look at it, the 25% thing which is given to the SMEs actually benefit about 96% of the registered companies.
But that point, Shobhan, that you flag off, I think is an important point. And I want to understand from you, Dr. Baru, do these proposals which have been put up on the tax front, will it lead to greater compliance? Will it increase the tax net, as Shobhan is pointing out?
Well, first of all, I and I guess you and many of us here are actually paying more tax.
Correct.
As a result of this budget.
Correct.
From a point of view of a progressive taxation, which is good. The better off sections of society are contributing to this.
You tax the rich, you reward the poor. Simple.
Yeah, except that we are not the rich. I mean,
in the eyes of the government. Let's say in the eyes of this government.
10 lakhs of year income is not rich. And therefore...
No, the range is for 50.
Yeah.
50
The
lakhs.
surcharge.
No,
the
the
surcharge, if you're speaking about the 10%
10%,
surcharge, it's an excess of 50 lakhs to 1 crore.
It's about 15 lakh. No?
50.
No,
50.
50.
I heard it as 15.
50.
All right. Then
Okay.
I'm out of that.
But I'm on the point. No, I'm on the
but I
point
think
of does it increase the tax, the tax compliance ratio, the tax
sorry,
net?
I just began on a humorous note. But I think on a serious question, frankly, Bhupender, widening the tax net is not about budgetary reform. It's about tax administration. Governments over the last 40 years have failed to ensure a corruption-free tax administration, an efficient tax system, a simple tax system. Today the finance minister said one-page tax return for those who have to pay 5%. But look at the kind of tax return. All of us have to go to a chartered accountant every year to fill our tax returns. It's so complicated, all these exemptions and et cetera, et cetera. So we still have a complicated system. We are still not sure, a large number of people are still not sure if by complying with the tax system, they will be prevented from being harassed. Harassment is a huge issue. Even in the last 2 months, I've heard horror stories of harassment. So I think the real issue about widening the tax base in the country is to instill a greater sense of confidence in the honesty of the tax administration.
Does it instill that sense of honesty that Dr. Baru speaks about?
The tax administration as it is today does not deliver the premium for honesty. There is an inherent fear that even if you do the right thing, or rather doing the right thing may not necessarily be a good thing. 6 months back, the Revenue Secretary had to send a circular citing several court judgments that people who have reinvested capital gains from flat sales should not be penalized if the builders have not delivered, because it is no real fault of the buyer. Yet thousands of scrutiny notices, thousands of people have been taxed, people have gone into appeal. So the tax department is addicted to litigation because they are operating in some sort of target.
Then how does it ensure greater compliance, and how does it then ensure that greater number of people start paying taxes?
So you have to have one thing on one side and the other thing on the other side. You can't enforce honest tax administration without first attracting the taxpayer to the base.
Does this budget address the concern that you say?
As Sanjay said, and I will repeat, that much more work needs to be done on this, and particularly how they enforce the notices and the scrutiny of the post-demonetization issue. For instance, housewives with 2.5 lakh. The finance minister very clearly has said, and he's been very upfront about it, that we will not look at these people. But there have been instances where notices have gone in Bombay.
But you know, while we're looking at a realistic scenario, which certainly exists on the ground.
I think what Shankar is making an important point, but at the same time there is another way of looking at this.
Which is?
The finance minister gave a set of very revealing statistics about the extent of non-compliance, which is another way of saying dodgers.
Yeah.
You know,
we're not a tax compliance society. He was very clear about it.
We are a lot of people who just evade taxes.
Yeah. I mean, the figures which he's quoted today,
very
which are all there in public domain, bizarre.
So for that solution is coming in GST. No. So there are two. That will come into GST, you see, because part of it will be reflected in that. Shankar, you're quite right about that. But there comes a point in which I think you have set up certain institutional deterrents to tax evasion, so it pays to actually pay to get yourself taxed.
Okay,
that is an important that's an important step.
Can I just ask all of you to hold on to your thoughts, because while we're speaking on what many within the BJP believe is a potential game changer, where the promise that was made by this government that people post demonetization will end up having more cash with them in some form, many within the BJP believe that this is the government's way. It's not a freebie, it's not a handout. Government is trying to say that our coffers are now flush, our banks are flush with funds, and therefore we're raising the tax barriers. With me, Anand Sharma, Member of Parliament, former Union Minister. Thanks very much, Mr. Sharma, for joining us. Your initial comments, what do you make out of this budget? Does it in any way satisfy the basic question that this is a budget which has something for various sections of the society?
No, the budget touches upon many things, but not the sufferings of the people, the distress in the rural India, the mounting job losses, loss of incomes. It does not address any of those issues. Also, this is a budget which lacks a roadmap for growth. The fact is that the Indian economy is not growing at all, irrespective of the projections that the government has made. Is the new methodology of GDP calculation. If they've now accepted it will be 6.6, then frankly speaking, all the estimates and projections are based on a 6-month data. That is prior to demonetization. So it is flawed, and its credibility itself is being questioned. So nobody is going to believe these numbers. You ask any economist, any data analyst, because it is not 6 months. You have preponed the budget on top of that. You are not giving any account as to what are the beneficial effects of the demonetization.
Now, I know, Mr. Sharma. I know, Mr. Sharma, that the Congress Party has come up with a white paper. You all came up with a white paper day before yesterday.
No, it's not white paper.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking of that. I'm talking of what I have said.
Yes.
So you have asked me a question.
Yes.
It is not what we said before. Either the economic survey or the budget should have given the details. How much of money has been redeposited?
So what are you saying?
What
You're saying the government has
percentage,
not given
what quantum is
details
the
of
black money?
or the government has not given details of what has happened post demonetization, the volume of currency which has
How
come
many
back.
jobs have been lost?
Okay.
How many incomes have been lost? But more important, what I am saying, that how can you have a yearly projection and advance estimates based on 6 months data? In this case, it was an extraordinary situation because it is the data post demonetization would be very revealing and surely will be impactful
but
when
Mr.
it
Sharma,
comes to the economy.
wouldn't you
How
agree
can
with
you
me?
make those projections?
Mr. Sharma, wouldn't you agree with me if I was to say that for a government which is facing assembly elections in literally 3 days' time from now, the government clearly has not gone the populist route. Would you not compliment the government on that front?
I will not. The Prime Minister actually preempted the imposition of model code of conduct. Secondly, violated the sanctity of the budget formation and budget presentation.
How?
By making most of the announcements on 31st of December. The Finance Minister was given the paper to read and to reaffirm what the Prime Minister had
That's
said.
a political
And
charge
let me
that you're
also
entitled
tell
to
you,
make. That's a political charge that you're entitled to make, Mr. Sharma. But my
it's not
point
a charge, it's a statement of fact.
That may be
I'm not in the habit of making allegations.
So that
it's a statement of fact.
okay, that's the statement of fact according to
That
you.
the
But let
Prime
me ask
Minister, can anybody controvert that the Prime Minister did not make these announcements on the 31st of December?
One is
So
not
where is the charge? Charge is what an accusation is.
One is not disagreeing with that.
It's a factual statement.
Let me put a substantive. Let me put a substantive statement before you, sir. Look at what has happened to income tax structure in this country. Would you be with me if I was to say that actually the finance minister in many ways has tried to give more cash to maybe a community that we may describe as a lesser off in let's say urban pockets? If you don't pay any income tax up to 3 lakhs, is that not a welcome move?
No, where is it? 2.5 lakhs was earlier not there. If you add on the tax saving schemes, which is legitimate, then up to 4.5 lakh you could still be without paying any income tax. So if he is seeking to improve upon that, it's a marginal or incremental improvement. But let me say, if you have to move on from year to year, factor in the inflation and the cost of living, this is the least what you can do. Those who have not gone in for any tax saving schemes would maximum benefit up to 12,000 rupees. This is a fact. But now let me ask you a counter question. Finance Minister has been talking about tax to GDP ratio, yes, but he's not the first Finance Minister. Right from Manmohan Singh, his predecessors and Chidambaram, they all were talking about it. And steps were being taken to widen the tax net.
Fair enough.
But my question to you,
sir,
listen, no, my question to you is a different one.
Which is?
In our country, you charge 30% tax, income tax, 30% corporate tax, but I'm talking of income tax.
Right.
After that, the indirect taxes of India are the highest in the world. Those have not been factored in. Now, you are talking of tax to GDP ratio. I would rather ask the Finance Minister, those countries which have a higher tax to GDP ratio, those countries also have a very high social security expenditure and allocations to GDP ratio. That ratio of social security allocation is very high.
Okay.
In our country, it's not even 5%. Other countries go by the data available.
So you believe even that? You believe even that is mere
27%.
lip service? You believe even that is mere lip service? Let me then ask you to respond to the other big
What
point.
has happened? Let me tell you one thing. Prime Minister and Finance Minister have been celebrating that Manrega allocation have been record high.
Yes.
That's in the RE.
Right.
That is in the post-demonetization. But that is actually an admission. And this government is being dishonest by not being forthcoming in its statement and
Well, I am
confession.
going to have Union Minister Piyush Goyal
Because
joining me in a
allow
very
me to
short
complete
while.
this.
Yes, sir.
No, you allow me to complete. You can't.
Yeah, quickly,
No,
sir.
you allow me to complete
Quickly,
this.
sir. Quickly.
Not quickly. You sought time from me. I did not seek time from you.
Yes, sir.
So please allow me to complete.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Please.
Sir. Go ahead.
Now, there has been literally a economic shutdown. Factories have shut. Farm labor has returned to the villages. Construction labor has returned.
Yes.
People have lost daily wages, daily incomes, and they've gone back to the villages and claimed what is legally their entitlement through the Act of Parliament. It is a legal right of the citizens of India.
Okay.
When it comes to employment guarantee scheme.
Right.
So they have claimed for work, that is for their livelihood. And the incomes lost. Let's not forget that. So it's no largesse on the part of the government.
Sir, it's not a question of largesse. It's fair enough.
It's shameful.
Let me,
no, it is
you may be describing.
And it is citizens' right.
You may be describing.
No, it is citizens' right.
Can I move beyond that? Can I move beyond that?
No, it is right.
Can I move beyond that, sir? You know, the other
No,
important point.
You can't move beyond that.
Sir, let me now
it
decide.
Is not a largesse.
Mr. Sharma, let me decide what I want to ask.
It is not alms being given to the poor.
Agreed. Point taken, sir. Let me ask you, the other important point which has been flagged off by the finance minister is this crackdown against black money. Do you believe the reduction...
Where is why is he not giving the numbers?
I'm saying he says that political party funding in terms of cash reduced from 20,000 rupees to 2,000 rupees. Would you support the government
That's
on that?
That's a gimmick. That's a gimmick.
How?
2,000 rupees, fine. You stop even that. But come out with a credible plan. Create a political consensus. Give a proposal. Discuss with the election commission. Create a national electoral trust and national election fund.
Would you
support that?
Can I ask you, would you support the government?
One question.
Would you support the government?
Don't give undue credit.
Would you support the government, Mr. Sharma, if they were to say, on this question of 2,000 rupees being fixed as a limit, you're not with the government?
That is a gimmick.
That
is the election budget and a pedestrian budget where all the fundamentals of your economy are nosediving. It is just a distraction. I am asking why they have not come out with a proposal.
But what proposal do you
electoral
want?
Funding.
But they say the government says there can be an electoral bond. Government says there can be an electoral bond.
What is electoral bond?
They've come up with the concept of a bond.
What is the electoral bond?
They're reducing the cash limit.
Create a national electoral... Listen, create a national election trust, national electoral fund.
Okay.
Come out with a concrete proposal and plan. That's done in other democracies.
So, bottom line, Mr. Sharma, in conclusion.
And let me also, listen, Bhupen,
sir.
Let me say one thing very clearly.
Sir.
Don't get carried away and give this impression as if there is a cleansing of the system.
Okay.
From where is the BJP getting its thousands of crores?
Okay.
Which check payment or card payment, Prime Minister's election rallies, chartering of planes, helicopters is being done?
Okay.
So let's not give this wrong impression.
So you believe the government of India is
these are the
simply
people
tweaking
who are
the numbers? You believe
group of saints?
You believe the government of India is simply tweaking with the numbers? Thanks very much, Mr. Sharma. Thanks very much for joining us.
What tweaking the number? You reduced to 2,000.
Okay.
What is the tweaking of the number?
So everything is a gimmick.
I'm asking you a fundamental question.
Agreed.
Listen, I'm asking you a fundamental question.
Sir.
No, don't say that. You won't belittle a serious observation being made.
Sir. No, but you don't want to get into any argument with my panelists, sir. Which is why I'd like my panelists to respond to but you've said that you will not enter into
I did not agree for a panel.
That's why I'm saying
you sought a one-on-one interview with me.
You made your point.
Listen to me.
Yeah. You made your point, no, Mr. Sharma.
I've not made all the points. There are so many other things which we have to say about the budget.
No, I'll come to that.
But you're not allowing me.
Let me settle what you've said.
You're not even permitting
me. Hold on, Mr. Sharma. You've now dismissed this whole budget as a gimmickry exercise. Shankar, the truth
No, I've not. Listen, I am not a person who trivializes things.
Sir.
I am stating certain facts.
Okay.
And let me make one last statement because don't get impatient.
Sir.
Now let me say one thing to you. Now when you have all the projections based on 6 months data prior to demonetization, which I said earlier.
Yes.
So that the figures are flawed and questionable. Number 2, your fundamentals are looking down. Your credit offtake is historically low, 20-year low.
Okay.
Your national investments have fallen to the lowest of the last 1.5 decade. These are the government numbers. These are official figures.
So your basic point, Mr. Sharma, I must hold you there.
Negative.
Your everything is a negative. No, sir, I can't allow. I'm sorry, sir. I've run out of time.
No,
Thanks
I'm
very
not
much.
saying that.
Thanks very much, Mr. Sharma.
What are you saying?
Let me take a break. I need to take a break, Mr. Sharma.
This is not my statement.
It may be your observation,
It's not my statement.
It may be your statement. I will put
These
all
are not
the
my
questions
observations.
that you have put to my panelists,
These are not my
Mr.
observations.
Sharma. Thanks very much, Mr. Sharma, for joining me. Let me just say in conclusion, these are views which are being expressed by a former minister and we must get our panelists to respond to the points, the observations, the facts as Anand Sharma likes us to believe as they exist. Are these facts, are these mere allegations? What does this actually tell you about Parliament when it reconvenes on Monday? If this is the state of affairs, every move which has been made by the government, supposedly by the Congress party, is a gimmick. Is it just a mere gimmick? Is there more to it? We'll look at that question on the other side of the short break.
CNN
Welcome back. Let's look at the other critical highlight of the budget 2017. One of the most important points which was flagged off by Arun Jaitley today, and something again which was also emphasized by the Prime Minister, is the government's desire to bring in greater transparency and accountability